r/AskReddit. Hotel staff of Reddit. How often do you catch people nude in the halls? And what's your best story? Not safe for work. I generally see at least one naked person a month. To be fair, my hotel is in the nightclub area, so everyone is usually fairly intoxicated. I've had my elevator turn into a softcore porn studio on multiple occasions, but the one time that always stands above the rest is one time this guy was going down on this young lady. The elevator was still on the ground floor and someone entered the lobby. After greeting the guest, I ran out the back to watch the security camera. This young lady walked in on the other two. He pulls his head out from under the girl's skirt, wipes his face and smiles. I'm rolling on the floor laughing my ass off. Other enjoyable one was this guy come to reception because he locked himself out of his room. He was completely naked. Normally people try to get my attention in some subtle way. The guy just walks down 4 flights of stairs, walks to the desk and casually says, "I left my key in my room." I hand him a new key and he goes to walk back up the stairs, sees a few girls looking at him from outside, gives them a wave and a pose, then proceeds back to his room. The level of I don't give a fuck this guy had still impresses me. Had one dude full on nude walking about, but that was boring. Best was a guy who called down, said he was locked out of his room after sleepwalking. Go up, has just in boxers. I'll let him and then come down to check the cameras. Dude was straight wandering the halls, penis in hand, slowly stroking it whilst he knocked on doors, then comes back down the hallway, pees into a bin in front of the elevators, and then calls down. You can even see the moment he wakes up he looks confused and lost. Was a good laugh. He got charged hazardous waste cleanup fee. Doing this while sleepwalking is my worst nightmare. This was about 5 to 6 years ago, but I'll probably never forget it. A couple was fucking all morning in a room I was supposed to clean later on. You could hear them on the entire floor. After lunch, I see them leaving, both in business suits, both very classy, late 30s, both very attractive. I opened the door and the room was trashed, as if a rock star from the 70s stayed there. Crushed crisps, spilled booze, the sofa, the bed, the bathroom was such a mess. Those usual 20 minutes they give you for cleaning would never be enough even for 3 people. They left a £40 tip on the table and a note saying sorry. Finally one I can answer. I caught someone once. Well, I didn't have to catch them. They came to me. I worked night audit at a local hotel. One night morning around 5 AM I was at the desk when the elevator started moving. At the time we didn't have cameras, so I didn't know what to expect. When it stopped in the lobby the doors opened and I see a man with a cart looking slightly shocked. Then from the blind spot from where I was standing out stepped a man with a cigarette in hand and nothing but a small towel around his waist. He looked pissed. He stormed up to the desk and demanded a new room key, all while yelling about how he got lost in the confusing as fuck rooms. I confirmed his room best I could given the situation and sent him on his way. The poor man that was in the elevator with him looked like he saw more than I did and didn't want to talk about it. An hour later the man came down to the lobby to check out and demanded a full refund for embarrassing him and for not clearly labeling the balcony door and the hallway door. I laughed and told him to call my manager, which he did later that day. Kicker is the room he was in had 2 doors. A bathroom door on one side of the room, and on the completely other side with a fire map, chain lock and deadbolt the room door. There was no balcony attached to his room. One time housekeeping brought the front desk a bag of sex toys that were left behind. After 5 seconds of checking the system, I find that the guests are here for 2 more nights. Housekeeping ran back to put the bag where they found it before the guests came back. Doesn't housekeeping have a list of which rooms need to be vacated and which don't? Were they just going by does it look moved out? Seems like that system could go horribly wrong in many different ways. Not my story, but my brother manages a nice hotel that happens to be near a red light district. One day, he gets this tourist who books a double room for a month, ideally as far away from the main entrance as possible. Guest checks in, and starting on the 3rd day, there's this conga line of prostitutes coming in and out of the guy's room. By my brother's own count, the guy's personal record is 16 different women in a day. That's not the crazy part. One day, guest comes to front desk with a woman on each arm and asks my brother if he could book an Uber. Brother obliges and books the guest an Uber. Guest then tips with a prostitute. As in, full on offers the girl up to him and says, "You wanna have a go?" I sincerely hope nobody ever takes a black light to that room. I used to work security at a large casino/resort, and we got a call at around 3 AM one night about a naked and frantic woman running down the halls of one of our hotel towers. So we go up there and sure enough find a woman bawling her eyes out completely nude. We got her a towel from the linen closet, so she at least had something to cover up, and then she calmed down to tell us she had met a guy on the casino floor and went up to his room and he attempted to rape her and got all her clothes off and scratched her up pretty good, but she fought like hell and got out of the room. Needless to say, the cops came and the guy was dragged out and justice was served. Oh, he had a black eye when we got him out of the room too. She whooped his ass. I once worked in a hotel where the staff accommodation was a small house outside the back of the hotel, surrounded by 4 guest accommodation cottages. My friend and colleague had gone down to the hotel in the morning to make him and his partner breakfast. On the way back, carrying a mug of coffee in each hand and a plate of toast balanced on each mug, he passed a family of newly arrived guests unloading their car into their cottage. The cord tying his bathrobe came loose and his gown came open, exposing all. With both hands full, he had no choice but nod, smile and say morning in the most cheery voice he could muster and walk on. Not sure what the parents made of this. I do feel sorry for the children though. I used to work as overnight auditor for a hotel. One day while I was doing rounds at 3 AM, I thought I saw something moving at the opposite end of the hallway, and I was like, did I just see a naked man? This poor guy was sleepwalking, but naked while hugging himself. Our hallways are freezing cold. I approached him closer and said, "Hello sir." He turned his head and said, "Hey." I was like, is he still asleep? 5 seconds later, I guess he realized what was going on. He said, "I'm so sorry." I gave him a robe from a nearby housekeeping closet, took him to the lobby to verify his identity. Obviously he doesn't have ID on him. I gave him a room key and followed him back to his room to make sure he doesn't sleep on his way back or whatever. Not a worker, but one time we had a bachelor party and rented a hotel for about 10 of us. One of our buddies got shit-faced before it even got dark, and we took him back to the hotel because he wasn't about to get in anywhere and kept complaining about being ready to go back. We dropped him off and proceeded to go on with our night. An hour or two later, the hotel called one of our buddies whose name was on the room and told us we needed to get back because our buddy was laying in the hall outside our room naked. I'm not sure what happened, but he lost the room key and for whatever reason decided to get naked so he could go to sleep. The room key was in his pocket. I hope this doesn't get lost. I know I'm late. My uncle was the general manager of a resort up in Pennsylvania, and he told me a story about how a Little People convention came and had an event at the resort. The next day the honeymoon suite was vacant again, so they rent it out to this newlywed couple. They weren't in the room, but 10 or 15 minutes before screaming was heard. Turns out the night before there were 3 midgets staying in that room and they all got pretty trashed. So trashed that one of them got naked and the other 2 threw him up onto wardrobe cabinet. He didn't wake up to the cleaning lady, and so they thought the room was empty. The married couple screamed because they saw a pair of eyes peek up above the wardrobe as they were consummating the marriage. It's not every day you go on your honeymoon to find a naked midget above your wardrobe. Here's a story. Keep in mind I was a 17-year-old girl while working at this hotel. I've never seen a naked person in the hallway, but once in the lobby a man at around 300 am sat down on a chair and called his girlfriend. I was on the night shift and I was sitting down behind a computer screen, so he would have only seen the top of my head if he looked over. But it was Sunday morning and he was extremely drunk from a wedding. He was wearing a suit and I was just keeping my eye on him. He then started having raunchy phone sex with his girlfriend or wife, and it was so raunchy, my jaw dropped and I honestly didn't know what to do. Then a janitor came over and we were sitting there flabbergasted. He then pulled his dick out and started jerking off. So I got up, walked over and said, "Sir, you're in the lobby." He woke up out of his sexual drunken stupor and I'll never forget the look of horror that came across his face. He ran to his room so embarrassed. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for I upload daily and suggest what subreddit I should cover next. Thank you and happy travels.